nice to everyone.
No, he's just nice.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. Look, the backpack show is back. I guess that's something.
Hello, welcome.
Weekly. We're going to do weekly because we've done daily. We've done all the things. Look at that. That's my biological mother, Diane Brogan, and her husband, Steve.
Shut up.
I had a dream last night that my dad was so mad at me. So, Dad, whatever it was, I'm really sorry. He was so mad.
I'm
was
sure not having many things that would make that
not having level.
No.
It was terrible. We have a show for marketers today. I can't believe I'm saying that sentence.
I'm very excited about this. So normally we bring you success insights from unusual places. I would consider this somewhat less unusual, and yet
least unusual.
I think people don't know the depth and breadth of everything that our guests today know. So I'm really excited about that. So we're going to talk to one of my very favorite people, Andy Crestodina. He's the author of Content Chemistry. He's with Orbit Media. He's the chief marketing officer and co-founder, and he knows just more about SEO for content than anybody I know. We'll also talk with Raj Venkatesan, who's the co-author of the AI Marketing Canvas. So there's a framework in here for marketers who want to get started using AI, and it's really, really good. So we have a lot to dig into. There's going to be all kinds of things that you can do like right after the show that you couldn't do before.
And I still wanted to tackle Raj's name, and then I realized I didn't have it in front of me, and I was just going to go with a V. I don't know, something V. But I definitely want to tackle it because I feel like it's amazing why we don't try to learn names. And I think our AI friend is of the kind who says, nah, you don't have to know it, but I think we do. So
he's brilliant.
We're talking chemistry, we're talking AI, we're talking shenanigans. Remember, this show is for you to comment and chat with people. You've got a lot of people to chat with today. Welcome back to the Backpack Show.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to the Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gorgone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show. Boom shakalaka. I love it.
Andy does some amazing things that actually, he'll willingly tell you all about them. That like he ranks number 1 if you search for a content marketing speaker, like in the search engine rankings, number 1 on Google. And it's crazy. Like all the people we know, all the people who do this professionally, and there he is right at the very tippy top. And he'll tell you exactly how he did it. And I'll tell you right now, most people won't replicate it because it's like, it's a little bit of work, but it's not like a lot of work. So
yeah. So listen, we got to start there because I want to know that answer. And I also want to point out something. Carol Alalouf shifted around meetings to come to this thing. She doesn't show up on the normalest of days, but she's like, Andy Crestodina. And then she comes running. So see how this goes, Raj? You know, we're not good enough for it, but Andy brings the noise. Let's grab him. How you doing, boss?
Oh, feeling the pressure.
You have so much to earn up to today. It's a big day.
It is. This will be tough.
You rank for content marketing speaker.
I do.
He ranks tippy top.
Number 1 or
no,
1.
It's up there. I don't think it's number 1.
Yeah, it is. It is of individuals. Like if you're talking about the Content Marketing Institute, maybe is ahead of you.
Marketing speaker. Let me Google.
I rank above all of the speakers that I love and admire and have learned so much from people who are way better at speaking than me. It has nothing to do. It's actually a minus point for search in general that, you know, someone like me could outrank Jay and Ann and Joe. And
you're being a little self-deprecating because you totally deserve the ranking, but you also worked to get it. And let's just say a little ahead of when everybody else knew how good you were. So how'd you do it? Tell everyone, because they could totally do it.
Okay, sure. Here's a turbo version of SEO for any page. This one works if it's a page about you for some reason, like you know, and you're getting mentioned someplace. You can do it for any page. So first of all, you have to have a page about the topic. That should be obvious. A big part of search is relevance. So you have to ultimately, this page is to talk about the topic. Content marketing speaker. It has to have, you know, some words on the page so that Google knows what the page is about. Let's just assume that you have a good page on on whatever topic you're talking about. But then what I did was I had a little brand alert that let me know if someone mentioned me somewhere. And then I looked at that mention and I saw, what was it linking to anything? If it wasn't, over a series of messages and emails and friendship, ask the person politely to link to the speaker's bio page. If it was linking to a social media profile, same thing. A couple of messages, make some friends, reach out, say hello, and ask if they wouldn't mind linking that instead of to my Twitter. That's not high value to me. Instead, link to the speaker's bio page. So this was like 3 years. It's a long game. Search is slow. Most people don't have patience for it. But gradually over time, that page had the 2 key ingredients for rankings, which was relevance and authority, as in it's a page about the topic, and it had been referenced by other websites.
So 2 things I think are really important about that. The first is you didn't immediately email people who mentioned you and say, hey, can you link to my speaker page? Not how you did it.
No.
You emailed them first to thank them.
Yes. It's maybe a week-long process or more. First, you're saying, yeah.
You don't do it all the time, because some people might think that sounds like a lot of work. You must do it all the time, but you just do it on Monday mornings or something.
Every Monday, I get it. I get an email like Talkwalker alerts. Google Alerts, I don't think works much anymore. So you just set up. Talkwalker is free. Anyway, anyone can do this for the brand, their company, for their personal name. Just watch those. There's a name for it. SEOs are nerdy people and try to brand everything. This is called link reclamation. Now it's boring. It just sounds terrible. That's exactly what it is.
So if you're sociable, like somebody over here who's really nice, then you could easily do this.
Yeah, anyone could.
Well, so I wanted to start there. One of the themes of the episode today basically is that it's just not the same. Marketing isn't what it was. Marketing isn't coming up with the best phrase. It isn't some good color choices and branding matching and all that sort of a thing. It's things like taking the time. It's things like SEO that so many people still don't pay any attention to whatsoever. The reason to grab Raj is to talk about AI. When we think AI, we're like, but autocorrect is AI, speech to text is AI. It's not super rockets all the time. It's crazy stuff. Andy, what's changed in SEO as it applies for marketers and content people? And what's the first place you start shaking down lowly marketer peasants who haven't really come over to realize that SEO is important?
Well, it's common for someone to say, hey, how come I don't rank for this phrase? And after a minute and a half of conversation, you realize they don't even have a page about the topic. So step 1, Google does not rank websites. Google ranks pages. So you need to have a URL on any topic that you hope to rank for. Step 2, that page needs to be deep and thorough and detailed and exhaustive. Think like Wikipedia. SEO is very competitive, right? 10 years or something have passed since I first met both you guys. Back then, there weren't as many long form, complete answers, detailed content on each topic. So, and then third, it's about relationships. It's about collaboration. It's about partnering with people, making stuff together. And those lead to authority by leading to mentions and links and shares. And so it's not, it just got a little more competitive. And but the number of people who are really willing to spend 10 hours on a super exhaustive article or web page hasn't really increased. So in a way, there's sort of, it doesn't feel like there's more of us who are going deep, but there's definitely more content out there.
Carol points out that you are kind and generous and who wouldn't want to give you the link if asked.
Oh, Carol, I am a Carol fan. Exaltus for explainer videos. She is wonderful. Check out her work. They are brilliant.
And Joseph Jaffe asks about, I think he's asking about Talkwalker, the Google Alerts replacement.
Talkwalker Alerts.
Here we go. Yeah, Carol's already on it. Thank you. Hi, Janice.
Marketing's a weird place because there's a few different echelons in marketing. There's this sort of excitable people. And then there's the SEOs, like you've already pointed out, SEOs are super nerds, like Dave Davies. Oh my gosh. You and him at a party, I could just hear the sound coming out of you, and Chris Penn. But those clicks aside, I think it's really shifted. That we need a lot more understanding of the technology. What else should people be picking up? What else should go into their little toolbox of tech to do this kind of work?
Well, if you just step back and think, what is SEO? What is search? It is an information retrieval technology. That's it. You mentioned AI. So don't just focus on key phrases. Think about what that person is trying to find. Go past the key phrase. Don't target key phrases, target topics. So I think a lot of people just need to keep in mind that this is really about the intent of the visitor. Have you solved for X? We're not just trying to be relevant for 2 or 3 words put together. We're trying to make something that is thorough on the broader topic. It answers all the related questions. It covers all the related subtopics. So when you step back and you think about keywords as in fact just being intent, then you will more likely create something that is super helpful, because you're not just narrowly focused on this little combination of letters. You're thinking about satisfying their information needs. That's what the SEO does. Meet expectations, satisfy this person's information needs. Look at any page that you hope to rank and just ask yourself, is this awesome? If not, get back to work.
So when you say awesome for a page, though, you're talking about the best page possible on the internet for that thing. Not like, I feel like a lot of people think that ranking is somehow aggregate, like across everything. Like if you have all the answers there sort of sprinkled throughout your site, then magic happens. That's not how it is. You'll make like one page that has original research and quotes from people and, custom like new images, original artwork and stuff. Like everything is in there. Yeah.
I'm just going to top of mind checklist for things that are likely on a great page. The information is supported with research. The content is easily scannable. It doesn't have long, dense paragraphs. It's broken up. It has lots of formatting, subheaders, bullet lists, bolding, internal linking between articles. A great page is linked to from other articles. It has contributor quotes. It has meaningful images, not stock images. There's something of visual interest at every scroll depth. So it's not boring at any point, right? The writing should be charming and approachable. You guys are right here, so I don't even need to go into that. There's some of the best content pros online or on this call. So, but yeah, it needs to be, and then depth, I don't know, length. There's no word length. There's no word count, but the thing should be extremely detailed if you hope to rank for a key phrase.
Engagement versus firehouse of inter-naval focused content, says Bob Collins.
That's exactly where I was going to go. I was going to say one of the concepts I love most from Andy is the concept of content mission statements, because there's this thing that happens a lot, and Robert just poked right at it. There's a thing that happens that goes, I must make content, which is like saying I must go pee in a wall. It's so not the same thing. Can you talk just a bit about the content mission statement and how important that is to the process?
Yeah, we should credit, I think Joe Polizzi was the one who really started banging this drum very early. And I try to just nod to him whenever I mention it, but it is a simple, short statement that declares why you are publishing, who your audience is, what topics you cover, and why they should care, visit, come back, share, read, subscribe. So you could say it this way. Our content is where, and our content that's actually not necessarily obvious, that's everything you publish. Every article, every video, every social post, every email is where audience X gets information Y for benefit Z. Content programs that fail often just miss this. It's like kind of, your compass, your true north, because now and I've done this with people. I do it with friends at bars. I've done it. You compare this with wine. It's just a fun thing to like, if you like content strategy, you will enjoy this process. You'll be sad when it's done. It only takes you maybe an hour. So, example, this client they expedite passports. We write a tiny mission statement. There were international travelers. Get tips for making flight easier to have a better trip. Wow, why are we publishing all this domestic travel advice? They cut that out. That mission statement, that one 45-minute exercise saved them 4 hours a month forever after.
Carol says every single Andy Crestodina blog post is like a mini course on the topic. Value guaranteed.
Thank you, Carol. I love that you're here.
Andy, one of the things before Chris asks his question, there's like a fairly simple thing that you recommend people do when they want to pick up some SEO value. And it's like, go see which of your pages are ranking on like the second page and go make them the way that you're talking about, make them the best page on the internet for the thing. Like go and see what you can do to improve them. And those are, I don't even want to say the low hanging fruit, but like you can do, everybody's got some content that's like almost there, not quite there. So how do you know like which posts are kind of the most worthy, the best ones? Where do you start?
Well, the free way to see that is in Google Search Console, which is probably connected to your analytics. just create a tiny filter that says, include the phrase, the search queries for which the average position is greater than 10. That's all it is. And then Search Console will show you a list of all the phrases for which you rank high on page 2. So much easier than doing fresh keyword research. Google's telling you the striking distance key phrases. These are things that you are almost ranking high for already. And every site has hundreds of them and the website owners never know, because almost no one ever runs this report. And it basically is just going to show you it's a prescriptive thing. Now just go make it a better article on that topic. Go make it a better page. Go include those key phrases. Go deeper into those subtopics. 3 days later, you're going to be ranking on page 1. I'll buy you a beer if you don't. I'm that confident. It's like the most reliable win in SEO.
At the risk of knocking everyone unconscious by getting even further in, right before we go backstage for a second, passage rank has shown up. So first off, there was page rank, and we must have the best page possible on a topic that we need. And now it's like, nah, you can just have a pretty good paragraph in there. Are you training people to passage rank yet, or what's your thought on that? And should we just not even talk about it?
No, I have mixed feelings, but if there's a tip for that, it's also the same tip for like semantic SEO, which is basically when you write, make sure to include some sentences that are sort of like the complete answer in one complete sentence. Look for grammatical forms that are a single complete answer. Again, it's information retrieval technology. You can help it, right? It's like, there's software. On top of the software is a database. On top of the database is a file. The file is your web page. The software is Google. Make your page work with this software by writing content that has the complete answer. The shortest, fastest route toward SEO is to target striking distance key phrases for which just like write the plain English version of the thing somewhere in the article. Quite helpful.
Go ahead, Kerry.
Everybody has questions, so super, super quick. Chloe wants to know, is there a difference between a blog post and pages, like when you're talking about this?
They target different key phrases. Blog posts target information intent phrases. Web pages target transaction intent phrases. So they are different in the structure of the content, in the intent, in the goal of the page, in the type of conversion, in the needs of the visitor. Does Google see them differently? Not that I know of. It's a great question. I don't think so. I think that Google just looks at the page, looks at the topic, looks at the intent, and tries to find a great page. There's no inherent difference in how Google analyzes the relevance of these pages that I know of.
Which goes back to the whole section in your book about chemistry. Conversion. Mm-hmm. The book is chemistry. Conversion, there's just a massive amount of it, which conversion's different, on a blog post. On a blog post, I might just want you to be a sub. And on, a sales conversion, obviously, I want you to click that buy button or whatever. So you're totally right. I was just thinking that Andy Crestodina has just provided the best possible answer on why passage rank is important. And you should understand more in his content chemistry book. There you go. That was my sentence.
Well done. Thank you for that. And that's the idea.
Soon as Google Listener gets more powerful, we'll see how it goes. They can pick up audio better. We have to stick you backstage for a minute. We got to do some ads and things like that, but stick around if you can. We'll come back and grab you again. But thank you so much for making our brains bigger. Sit put. Don't anyone go pee. We're just reading the ads as fast as we can.
What a thing to say.
Shush. I just can't have them. Don't pee. Until now. Thank you, Janice. I like my groovy glasses. I watched a documentary with Slash today. I kind of had to do this. Hey, we talked a lot about Google, but another search engine? I'll tell you another search engine, Presearch. You can go to presearch.com and check out content marketing keynote speaker. And there he is, Andy Crestodina. So he even ranks super high on presearch.com.
You can even take crypto and stake that phrase.
Yeah.
You don't even have to pay it away. You just have to hold the crypto.
Yeah. It's not AdSense, but you could stake keyword terms there that are so much better for you. Hey, want a .online domain? You can have one. Just go to cbrogan.me/online. Hey, use the code Chris at all caps, and you can have your own domain for a whole buckaroo.
It's going to bother me forever that the code is all caps. Can they just make it work, whatever capitalization? But
this is a Unix system.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, would you like an audio podcast? We've got one. You just go to castos.com and it's pretty good. Like
They host your audio file and syndicate it to all the places where great podcasts are searched for and consumed.
Our buddy Matt Medeiros works there, so we gave him a spin, and we've been very, very satisfied with the experience. I feel like I'm gonna miss one. Oh, we're sponsored by StreamYard.
Oh,
all you got to do is, if you want to make a video show like this, you just got to go find people that like chemistry and robots. A couple loose professors laying around, and you can make a show just like this. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And I can't remember, so I'm just going to throw it in. Hey, Mitch Jackson. Mitch is our lawyer friend from California, number one top attorney in California, streaming.lawyer. Get you some Mitch Jackson. He's so super, super special. Mitch Jackson, get some.
So Carol agreed with me about something. I don't know what, but I love to be right. So
I am also with you, Kerry. So if I were, we do this thing when we're actually paying attention to the guests, and I did not do it very well. We didn't ask Raj to pronounce his name for us. In my head, I'm saying Venkatesan or Venkatesan.
No, Venkatesan.
Say it again, Venkatesan.
Why don't you ask him to say it?
Well, let's get it.
Settle the question.
Professor Raj, will you set us straight? How do we say your last name, please?
Chris, you got it right the first time. Venkatesan.
Venkatesan.
Yeah.
I win. I have another Raj friend, Venugopal is his last name. And so I was like, it's got to be like that. Venugopal, Venkatesan. So there we go. Perfect. Professor, as it turns out, at least now in DC for the next little while.
Yes, I'm teaching in our executive MBA program here. So that's I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday teaching with the students. It's actually a great weekend because I get to meet the students, hang out with them, and I mean I love this weekends when I get to class, and it's great energy to be with them and learn from them as well. So looking forward to it.
I feel that most people underestimate and misunderstand AI, artificial intelligence. I feel like they really overblow it. They're expecting Skynet, and at any minute, a T-800 will come. You have a marketing canvas that features artificial intelligence. Can you sort of level set us a little bit and get us a sense of what kind of AI we're talking about and how it applies to the marketing?
So in the most simple terms, what we're really talking about in the book is using data and information to make decisions and to really use data to understand customers. And that's about it. I think as you grow through this maturity, as you do more things, you will be able to see, you'll do more and more sophisticated things. But at the very beginning, like we just talked with Andy, it is about like what he talked about, like the keywords, right? Like, look at those keywords in which you're almost there and then do something. So, or make your page more relevant. So you come up on those keywords. So it can be you can begin with that, right? It's not just AI or like the machine is not understanding, but you're beginning with some data and trying to make a data-driven decision. That's where our premise is. And as you get better at it, as you get more information, then you can start predicting what is coming up next. Right? So that is where like the real machines and AI start to come within marketing. Is like, think of marketing as predicting what customers would do next or what their needs are. And how can you customize your website or your products, or how you can customize yourself to the customer's needs.
So without giving away the store, can you tell us about the roadmap?
So the roadmap is what we saw was when we talked to different brands, we see that pretty much everybody is like what Chris started off saying, this is a big topic. This is so many, we hear a lot about it. Where do we begin? And what do we do next? And I think that's what the framework is basically is today, tomorrow, and long. Like you start with the foundation, you start with the data that is more customer focused and collect the information and then start doing experiments, let 1,000 flowers bloom. And then once you learn from it, grow a little more, build a little more capabilities, bring in some champions in your organization to cover more, which we call expansion. And then transformation is really investing in this, either building your own data science capability or buying an AI company. And the fifth is I think my favorite step is monetization, is where you're taking all this capability and creating a new AI as a service platform, which I've not seen before. Like, we've had transformations in marketing. I think this one, what was really interesting for us is that companies are like Washington Post, Coca-Cola, Starbucks are really starting to look at the capabilities that they have developed, and they're using that as a platform to allow other brands to use this service and improve themselves.
So my first
I thought you were
question,
muted. You were like,
no. My first question is, if robots and AI are so smart, why did they let you do this show? Like, I feel like they should have steered you towards not doing this show.
It was a human decision. You think they're going to like seek you out every time you make a decision and like affirmatively tell you stuff? I think you have to ask it, right?
You probably didn't have enough data. Is that possibly it?
Yeah.
I'm very persuasive.
Yeah. It's I think, Chris, the broader topic of what you're, I think, covering here is really important. Is AI going to do everything? Are we at the general purpose machine? Is it like all knowing, or are we really talking about something which is more playing within a sandbox? I think in our book, we're basically looking at things that are playing within a sandbox. AI to us is anything if a human does, we would consider intelligent. If the machine does, that's AI. And so that's pretty much what we're talking about. And we're looking at things that are more within a specific, like image recognition or, chat bots. That's what we're talking about here.
Uber Eats probably has some really rich data about like, if you could put the Uber Eats data and like put it over top of like my calendar data, you would see that I make really bad choices on days that are meeting heavy in the morning. Like, there's tons of insight to be gleaned from like partnerships. So do you think eventually businesses will do that? Like, come together and these little like joint venture things?
It's an interesting question, because I think when we talk about AI and all this information, we also get into the question of like how far reaching and maybe creepy we get. Right. And I think this is going, like, to me, when we start merging different places, right? When we start looking at combining a person's different, personas, right? We have a Uber Eats persona, and then we have a meeting persona. And like when those things, worlds merge, that's where I feel like the privacy concerns start to come up. And so what we primarily talk about is looking at first-party customer data only. So you're looking at just like, and we are big proponents of direct-to-consumer relationships, the DTC subscription, so that you get the consent, and what you're basically collecting data is directly from your consumers. And there's a lot of possibility with data sharing. You got to be very careful there.
So I need to know a little bit more about you, because the early you went off and got an engineering degree. Then you hung out in Houston and picked up your PhD in business. Mm-hmm. And then you wrote a book about, how robots are going to take over the world. And now you're a professor, but you didn't go out and launch a big old weird startup, and you didn't say yes to Elon Musk to protect him from the robot overlords. Who did you think you were going to be when you grew up, and what's guiding your career right now?
So who did I think what I was going to be when I grow up? Certainly not a professor. And I thought I would go the standard route of, do some engineering, do some fun coding. And I didn't think more beyond that, honestly. I really didn't think beyond that. And I thought I would start a business. And I think there was some entrepreneurial streak in me always. And then life happened, and I started doing the PhD. And that was really about it was at that time I was doing stuff in, like, my thesis were in computer engineering, was doing stuff on AI, like what we call AI now, neural nets and genetic algorithms to be. And then my PhD advisor was prescient at that time, and he said, listen, this is going to marketing is going to transform. I'm seeing things happening. Would you want to do something like this? I said, of course. And let's give it a go. And that's kind of how I started. And I have basically led my life in I have longer term ambitions, but I go day by day and look at things like as they come and see opportunities as they come and live in the today. And I think that's kind of, I guess, why when you look at it, it seems a little bit meandering the way I'm done my work, but it's all about what I like and what I want to do. And it's been great. Enjoy the ride.
So what does this look like in different industries? There'll be businesses that tell you, oh gosh, we're B2B, this is a whole different thing. And is it really like that whole different thing, or can they use it too?
It's we get that a lot. And I think there was a report published by Salesforce that came out on spending differences between B2B companies and B2C companies. And it's a very interesting chart where you actually see the difference is that B2B does more like account management, but the amount they're spending on the different functions like content marketing, websites, maybe not a little bit less in social perhaps, but the distribution is about the same. And the thing about, so in a way, B2B is doing a lot of what B2C and more. And I think with B2B, the biggest thing is, I think the benefit is direct to consumer relationships. You are directly working with your customers, and it's messy, it's customized, but your salespeople are your biggest asset in giving you the data about the deep insights with the customers.
Kerry went somewhere, and I want to circle back because I've been thinking about it ever since she just said it. Like she said, if Google Calendar cleared the data with Uber Eats and back and forth, like if there was an allowance of some kind of relationship, but that's not how data works right now. Data is all in silos, and the least used person in that data experience is the user. Do you feel we're going to get there? Do you feel like user data rights will become better understood, or do you think it'll forever be silos, and so it'll be people trying to fight away what little bites of data they can steal for their AI models?
I think the silo thing is not easy to overcome. I think, which is where when we get asked questions about, hey, how about a startup? Can they actually benefit? My answer is always yes, because they don't have silos. They they don't have legacy systems. They've not acquired companies, and now they're connecting the databases to get something out of it. So a lot of companies that we've worked with, the biggest challenge is, like you say, Chris, connecting across silos. And it's not just like political. It is also, if you're acquiring a company, they have a different database system, you have one database system, and then how do you connect the customers? Like strategically, it makes sense that you can connect like different groups and you can provide a better service like banking and investment services. But if you grew into investment services with an acquisition, then how do you connect those two, right? And then that is where it becomes like real, like, it's a roll up your sleeves like work that is going on, and a lot of work, 80% of the work, and that's the foundation layer that we're talking about, is where a lot of this work is.
Look, he's here. You brought Andy back without warning him first. Andy, did you bring me some coffee?
I've got it right here for you.
Yay. I'll be right there.
It might be cold by the time you get to Chicago, but
so look, one reason I brought Andy back right now is I think that it's hard enough to convince people that they need to pay more attention to technology like search terms. Andy, this man tells people to let robots sift through their data. What do you think? I mean, how do you convince people that AI is the way to go? Professor Venkatesan's got a huge upsell to me to make that happen. Like the lift on that's heavy.
Yeah, I think persuasion is about the audience. If it's an executive, they get FOMO pretty easily. If you show them that their competitors are doing it, they might freak out and give you some budget. There's other people who are just obsessed with novel new ideas, and showing them how the way that they're doing something is not going to be the way it will be done in the future might persuade them. You can use influencers, data. I mean, different people are affected by different things. So that's like a sales question. I think that as we get to the tipping point, if you want to just describe this to anybody, it's like, this is happening. No one's surprised. This is reality. Do you want to be a leader or a laggard? You choose. Up to you. And then they kind of like realize like, oh yeah, this is sort of like, there's inevitability here. I got to decide where I'm going to be on this curve.
Yeah. And I think, Andy, that's well said. And what we've, I think we all talked about digital that way. I'm not saying you need another pandemic, but I'm saying like there was a crisis, and that really got people to move on, like consumers and businesses, to get into digital. And I think that what you talked about, FOMO, or like missing out, competition, and if you broadly speaking, crisis, ends up being a real motivator to invest. And that's where, like, when we in the book we talk about how when you first with the big platforms growing and really getting into different businesses, I think that is a real threat, which we say is like, if you don't face that, then it's going to really, you might go out of business. And there are enough examples to show about that.
And then it gets crazier still, because I bought a subscription to Latelyai, and the whole concept there is that if you train Latelyai by what you type, how you type, your stories, your articles, your blog posts, your tweets, it sucks into the fan as much as it can. It guesses.
What?
And you need the demo.
Wait
Andy.
a minute.
You need the demo. So Latelyai, Kate Bradley Chernus was on the show, and I basically grilled her and yelled at her for a whole long time. And then I went and got a demo, and I was like, oh, never mind. And I paid for it.
Oh,
and
am I going to think like, I wish I'd had this turned on 2 years ago? Because
super not cheap,
know?
But worth it. Like, it's affordable. It's like within like a few $100 a month kind of a thing, which to some marketers, that's like, oh no, but it was so worth it, because what it does is it basically, it does what Professor V said. It's a data set. You start collecting the words of Andy, and then it does its best Andy impression, and it's good.
Wow.
And more so, it is search optimized and good. So it says back to you, Andy, you said things, but if you had said AI tools that I could actually use, you would have made even more money. Right. And then, so it works like that. So I feel like this future is coming, but it's like what William Gibson said so many years ago. The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed.
Yeah. I think about that a lot. Yeah. Who said that? I heard that quote again recently.
Originally, William Gibson. A million years ago, Daniel Steinberg stole it for one of his O'Reilly podcasts. And so I heard it every episode, every week of his podcast. But it's William Gibson who wrote the book Neuromancer, which talked a lot about cyberspace before there was cyberspace. He wrote that on a very old typewriter, a manual typewriter, tack.
It's one of my favorites, and it gets so much right. There's only one scene in the whole book that I'm like, well, that wouldn't happen, but that's it. And that just involves like a bank of payphones.
Right. Because the one thing that William Gibson said he never would have ever guessed was mobile phones, the ubiquity.
Oh, wow.
He said, I never guessed. Anyway, for another thought, another time. But we have come to that part of the show where we've got to ask you a very, very important hang on a minute. What am I going to do here?
I'm sharing my survey again, Chris. Every year, it's a slog to get 1,000 people to answer 15 questions about blogging. This is my life. So
oh my gosh.
Everyone needs to do this.
Kerry, that's the tone I have to. Everyone needs to do this. Super helpful. It makes a huge difference for us. It's a piece of research we do every year.
Andy never asks people for anything.
I don't.
So
it feels weird.
And this is actually ultimately for you, because all the data will be made available. Like you get the findings. So.
I want it. I was just talking about we need to get back to the old days of blogging, and Raj is going to get back to tweeting.
I'm going to get back to tweeting.
I just followed you, Raj.
I know. Oh my God. I need to tweet. I've been on LinkedIn so much.
I didn't even give out your Twitter handle because I was like, I don't want anybody to.
I
No,
did.
thank
Peer
you.
pressure.
Thank
Peer
you.
pressure.
Oh my God.
All right.
I'm not that good man, though.
So
Oh,
we're
I
now at the
reach.
part of sprockets where you have to dance. So we've asked. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I got to do one other thing first. Oh my gosh, I'm so out of ready. Hang on.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
I don't even know. You know who I'm going to give it to? I'm going to give it to Mr. Collins.
Oh, yay.
So he's back after 2 months. We'll give it to him.
Collins.
Bob Collins, who has a show in him that I'm still waiting for him to turn on. But all right, here's the backpack question. We've asked this to every guest who's ever been in here. Sir Mix-a-Lot, Ariel Havitica, Nikki Porche, the Buy From a Black Woman. We've asked the question, what goes in your backpack? So it could be something physical. It could be something metaphorical. So, Kerry, what's an example of something physical you could throw in a backpack?
Extra set of teeth.
An extra set of teeth. DJ Cummerbund said that the only thing we can guess is he also likes pro wrestling. And so we think that maybe, who knows? What's something metaphorical one could add to it?
Oh, kindness.
Kindness is a good one. I'm going to go in reverse order. I'm going to do Raj Venkatesan. I'm going to ask you what should go in the backpack, either physical or metaphorical.
So I don't know if this qualifies for me. What I find useful is always, I like podcasts, including this, and I find it like useful in terms of, I don't listen to like mainly marketing podcasts, but I'm listening to like, a lot of podcasts on AI and humanity, but also growth and self-development and humility and how do you actually live your life, right? And any help there. So to me, that is it's in the backpack because it is something that when I'm doing things, I'm hearing it and it's helping me grow, and that's kind of my thing that I think is really valuable in my backpack to me.
I'll take it. I think that's a really good one. Andy Crestodina. What goes in the backpack, good sir?
I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. I don't know, Kerry, you and Chris have both been there. I need patience. I need lots and lots of patience in my backpack. Patience also for the professional stuff, which we kind of mentioned. A lot of things take a lot of time. Reminds me of, Chris, I heard you on a copy blogger podcast like 100 years ago, and you talked about how much you did before you got any visibility. Like that was an incredible act of faith. Like your story then stuck with me for a long time. The other thing that I need though is some kind of scorecard or tracking tool so that I stay motivated while I'm being patient. I need to know, like, it's very helpful for me to see like, fitness or content or whatever I'm working on to track it so that I can visibly see that I am making progress, even if that there's no result yet. That helps me a lot.
I'm going to choke for a minute. I just wrote a phrase. I was writing sort of a phrase of what things do we need? And I always think of it as that scene in the very early 80s movie Conan the Barbarian, where they say, Conan, what is good in life? And like all these other people have been asked the question, they get it all wrong. And he's like, to crush the enemy, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of the women. That was my Schwarzenegger. And I wrote, one of the first things I wrote today on mine was a story to feed and measure. So I've been great at feeding stories, like, I'm into this thing and I'm going to go learn about the thing and I'm going to read about the thing and this is all I'm going to do. And then measure just showed up today. I was like, oh, right. So when you said that, I'm feeling your vibe is what I'm saying.
Yeah, just to know that, just to track it, just to check a box, I did that today. Spreadsheet, an app. I have a piece of graph paper on a wall next to a little chin-up bar. So if I do these, I like shade in these little squares. My wife thinks I'm an idiot, but fitness just takes forever. Apparently, it's not very slow for me, at least.
You lose a lot of ground in the process too. That's what I find. Well, about the chin-up bar, it made me think of my grandmother really loved potato chips more than anything. It was like her favorite food, and she was raised Catholic, and so there's a season of Lent where you have to give up something. So she would always give up potato chips for Lent, which seemed like the worst idea in the world to me. I thought it was a terrible thing, and she would always threaten to do some exercise, and the only thing I ever saw her come close to like actually being an exercise